Let's continue the discussion on caregiving. First of all, we've made it very clear, and I want to say it again, caregiving is exhausting. And you write in your book, The Law Revolution, about work-life balance. When you say it can reduce stress and keep work from spilling over into one's personal life. And I was wondering if there's a parallel lesson a caregiver can use from your model that can help reduce stress and maintain a personal life while doing the hard work of caregiving for a loved one.
Love that question. So I do. I think it's the way that we think. I think that is the most important. You know, sometimes we're our own worst enemy. Mm-hmm. And so I think that if you, first off, work-life balance doesn't exist
right.
in 2026. So that's first and foremost. And I think, you know, we're very complex. I'm a mom. I run a business. There's multiple facets. And so when I'm here with you, I'm focused on you and our conversation, and my mind can't be anywhere else. And so I think when you are being a caregiver, you focus on that time that you have with your loved one, good, bad, or indifferent. And when you are out with your friends, you have to try to be present and have the drink. I would say dance on the table, but nobody does that anymore. But, you know, have fun, because time is our most valuable asset. And so we have to try to make the most of it.
Mm-hmm. You said earlier it's the worker or the caregiver's choice to make that decision, to be in the moment, to be present. And sometimes, do you think that the worker or the caregiver doesn't do that, decides to give up that choice, and for whatever reason? And we need to keep reminding ourselves that we need to make healthy choices for ourselves.
Absolutely. I think there's just like parenting, there's no playbook. And so nobody, if they tell you that they have the answer, they don't. Caregiving it's like a Rubik's Cube. Like, one thing, you think you're doing something right, and then all of a sudden something else, you affect the other side. And so you really have to sometimes take a step back and realize where you are in life. I'll give you an example. A very good friend of mine, one of my best friends, her mom has dementia, and her dad ended up having some sort of health problem that kind of spiraled. And he ended up in the hospital and then going to a rehab. And she said she's a teacher. She's been a teacher for, over 20 years. And she was like, I think I need to take a leave. She just felt there was something in her. And she is a worker. I look at people like her, and you're like, you have it all together. You talk to her, and she's very well spoken, well dressed. She has great kids, a home. And something in her said, I just needed to take this time. And she did. Her dad ended up passing away, and she was so thankful. Yeah. And if someone were to say to her, I think that you need to maybe leave your job for a period of time, she'd probably look at them and be like, are you out of your mind? I'm not leaving. So, because people have to come to the conclusion themselves.
Yeah. Great example. And that's hard to do. It's hard with our external responsibilities. We have bosses and family members and people we're caring for who are making demands on us. So it's the caregiver's hopefully responsibility and awareness to say, I'm going to take a leave of absence from work and be with and care for my dad, and benefit from that. So So, are there preemptive planning steps that one could take to avoid bad situations for future caregivers? The nuts and bolts of financial planning or estate planning.
Yes. I mean, I think while every situation is different, and I'm not an attorney, I have done this long enough and seen so many different family dynamics and financial situations that I think it never hurts to sit down with a certified elder law attorney. And I preface that by saying certified. They've been doing it for a certain amount of years. They took another vigorous test on top of the bar. They have a certain amount of, I think it's like over 200 cases they had to submit. And just assess the situation. Maybe as the child, it'll bring up conversations that your loved one wouldn't have with you otherwise, because we don't talk about finances, right? That's just inappropriate for my child to ask me how much money I have.
Right.
And I'm a big believer in just getting your affairs in order. I'm very friendly with Austin from your company for over a decade. And I told him I am planning my services with you all before my children graduate high school.
Right.
And my husband thinks I'm nuts. And my friends think I'm nuts, but why not do it? It's the one thing we all have in common.
Right.
Unfortunately, we're all going to pass away.
Yeah.
So if we could just handle our affairs before it's an emotional decision, and especially have somebody else take care of those affairs, then I think that you're better off. You have more control over things.
So since you've made it personal, I'll stay on that level. Would you then tell your high school age children and what your funeral plans are? Would you incorporate them in the process, or would you just say plans are made and that's the end of it?
So they're not going to hear this podcast, right?
Unless you show it to them.
Okay. Well, they follow me on social now. Could you imagine?
Yeah.
The world. Anyway, I want, my hope is to hire someone that will record the entire session of planning. Mm-hmm. And so I can use it as an educational piece and bring my children along with me. So they can think that mommy is crazy.
Yeah.
And they'll have no choice because these are my decisions. And then I'm hoping that one day when I do pass, they can say, do you remember, mommy was so crazy. We didn't even graduate high school and she planned her funeral. And then they have it on recording and they can remember me when I was young. Yeah. And we talked about it, and I don't have a lot of those things from my grandmother.
Yeah. Talk about what we talked about earlier. That's passing legacy down right there. It sounds quirky and unusual, but there's a lot that goes on and talked about in funeral planning, death care planning, whatever you want to call it. And it's sensitive stuff. And so these young kids learn at a very young age that one, their parents can handle powerful emotional things, and that you could handle that with them. So I think that's the kind of legacy I just appreciate, where kids can learn that their parents have flaws and unique characteristics, and they can have them as well. So it's a really interesting thing. I can't wait for our staff to record your prearrangement. Yeah,
and ever since I found out I can get infused into a diamond, I mean, signed, sealed, delivered. I mean, I was going to go as a tree, but then I was like, a diamond's much better.
Yeah. Very good. So I'm going to continue on this area of talking. I have the idea that talking about one's mortality enhances one's life, especially in end-of-life timeframes. It has a way, I think, of lightening living by letting go of repressed thoughts and feelings, about death and dying. So do your caregiving strategies include space for talking about difficult end-of-life issues? Is that part of this, estate planning and everything?
Yeah, we do encourage everyone to prepay their burial. And so it's good for Medicaid planning to do an irrevocable burial trust. The great thing is that you can do it with Bradley, and you don't have to necessarily do your services. It can get transferred. So the important thing is to get it done and have those conversations. I think I would like to have more of those conversations with families. I don't necessarily know that we're equipped to be doing it, but incorporating people like yourselves that can handle those difficult conversations, and also let them know that it doesn't have to be one size fits all.
Right.
You don't have to do where you're buried in a casket, or you're, then there's cremation, the diamond, I smile because now you really can plan your death in a way that really defines you. And so I think that's important, rather than, because, I will tell you, my grandparents are, I love them to pieces. I think of them every day. They're right here in my locket.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, I've probably been to their burial site 3 times.
Yeah.
I don't like the concept of it. And so I wish that I could have had those conversations with them. But we're old school Italian. We don't talk about those things, right?
I don't think you would have changed their mind.
No, I would have tried like hell, though.
That's good. Not exactly with your family. I think it sounds like you guys did a great job together, but your clients, there's so many families I run into where there is not effective communication styles. And I think that negatively influences effective caregiving. Very frustrating. It's hard enough as it is, but if you have a parent who's uncooperative, or the other way around, I think it causes so many challenges. One, do you agree? And if you do, what can be done about it from the perspective of you guys working with families and estate planning?
Yeah, I think it's the approach that you take, right? So we are very cognizant of how we approach conversations. And so I think if, a company's values are, to be the largest law firm, or to, make a certain amount of money, while, those things may be important, I think service trumps all of it. And so we make sure that when we do our intake process, we make sure that we're a good fit for you and that you're a good fit for us, but also that this is a family dynamic and we need everyone part of the conversation. Whether you don't like each other or not, that's not really up to me. You don't have to talk to each other at the meeting, but everybody needs to be able to ask their questions, so that when your loved one's not here and you're like, oh, we did this and we moved mom to a nursing home, was that a good idea? You're not blaming each other, because I think in situations like this, it only gets worse. So I think for some attorneys, especially people that aren't certified elder law attorneys, they don't necessarily know that by talking to which is completely legal, by the way, you can talk to the one child that's power of attorney and then change things, right? And then there's just a constant battle. But again, the approach is have everyone at the table together to ask their questions.
Collaborative approach.
Yes.
Fantastic. I don't hear that a lot. I think it's very nice. And can be very challenging for you guys, because you may have a long family history of disgruntled family members and whatnot, and to have them all in the same room asking questions and moderating emotions is very challenging. But to do it, I think, is very admirable. I think that's the way to go. It's my personal opinion, of course, but and you're right. We hear a lot of times, in end of life decisions, power of attorney. They make decisions without the other family members because they can, not because they should.
Right.
And it causes a lot of problems, and we see a fallout from that. In the funeral and things like that. It's very sad.
Yeah.
Because going back to legacy again, I think that's part of the legacy is that fractured. And why carry that to the next generation? It breaks my heart.
Well, and so my nonna always got along with everybody, and I was a little bit of an adversarial child, and I never understood why she, didn't fight my uncle on certain situations, or didn't put people in their place. And now that I'm older, I understand her perspective, and so it is important to just understand that is the legacy that she gave me and the values she taught me. Because now so often I say, if somebody's fighting, I always say, but is it really worth it? And so often when they call in, I will tell you the calls that we get all the time is, well, I'm the power of attorney. I just want to know what my rights are. And I'm like, okay. So, and I always tell the team, it's never what your legal right is, but you have to understand that your decision and what you're about to do is going to make a long-lasting impact sometimes. And they're like, well, they're not letting me see my mom. I'm going to call the cops.
Right.
And so it has a spiral effect. So, trying to make people pause and kind of reflect in their decision versus what your right is.
Yeah. People make lots of mistakes. You see a lot of them. So can you tell us a few mistakes that you see people make early in the caregiving process that would be best to avoid?
It's funny. I immediately thought about the mistake that I made by yelling at the ER nurse in the ER, yelling at the ambulance staff for taking my grandmother to the hospital because she never wanted to go there. So, the amount of mistakes that are made, right, is all relative. Did I give that person a bad day? Probably. Do they know my name? Probably not. I could forgive myself for those.
Good.
But not in my best moments, right? That is not something that my grandmother would have been proud of. But people have the right to make mistakes, and that's just life. I think the list can go on and on with mistakes. I would be doing a disservice if I said a mistake that maybe somebody listening just made and can make them feel bad because I don't know their situation.
Thank you for saying it that way and putting it that way. It's just beautiful. And I think the moral of the story is that you have to do what you can do. And that's it. That's the best you can do. You will make mistakes. It's inevitable. So forgive yourself. And do you think in the moment, it's too hypothetical, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Do you think in the moment, if your Nona was at that hospital, she would have said, let it go?
She would have been, calm down.
Okay.
Calm down.
Perfect. So the caregiver needs to forgive themselves, and the cared for person also should be part of that collaborative effort for forgiveness and to help in that situation. That seems to be would be a great combination, I guess.
Oh, that would be beyond lovely.
All right. Well, let's get the audience to move in that direction.
Yeah.